everybody. This is kind of a fun one for me today that I have been looking forward to doing for a very long time. We're going to be playing a game that is very close to my heart. I played it a lot when I was a child, and it was pretty formative for me, I would say, in terms of my just relationship with video games. And of course, by now, you might recognize that the game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 2007. And you know what? The graphics have held up surprisingly well. I was expecting to go back and find that it looked a lot worse in reality than it did in my memory. But this is honestly really impressive for 2007. Alright, of course I'm joking. This is the remastered version of Modern Warfare, which came out in 2016. It was released alongside Infinite Warfare, which I recently did a video on. Wait a minute. Infinite Warfare, right? Yes, that's right. For a second I was like, was that when Advanced Warfare came out? But no, 2016 was definitely Infinite Warfare. Anyway, so I've played the original 2007 game a couple of times on this channel. We've explored some of its multiplayer maps, and we did a video that I thought was really fun. I really enjoyed making, which was exploring like out of map glitches on the original Modern Warfare. So, you know, exploiting geometry in ways to get out of the map. And that might actually come up later in this video. But for now, we are playing the first real mission of the game. Of course, there is a tutorial, which is pretty iconic. It birthed a famous line, switching to your sidearm is faster than reloading, which has been, pops up occasionally as a meme format. But I wanted to get us right into the action, so we are starting with the first mission here, where we are infiltrating a cargo ship to search for a particular piece of cargo. And the premise of this game, the inciting incident, is that Russian ultranationalists have formed an alliance with a Middle Eastern dictator we will see how those stories begin to intertwine in mission number 2. For now, we are just fighting our way through this ship. And I'm playing on Veteran. I remember as a kid thinking that Veteran was about the hardest thing that existed in the world. So I thought it would be fun to revisit it. I was very proud of myself when I was younger when I finally beat the game on Veteran. So, you will see how quickly you can die on this difficulty mode. It is extremely lethal. Now, what's kind of fun about the Call of Duty campaign is, your high lethality. All enemies just drop in a couple bullets. Targets are very easy to take down. There we have our first death. My first wish is to see this plague of mankind, war, banished from the earth. George Washington. That introduces us to another iconic element of the Call of Duty campaigns, the quotations that are displayed after you die. I don't think they do that anymore, I'm not sure. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very nice element to add to, just sort of a first-person shooter action movie type of game. Every time you die, when you get some, reflective quote about how young men go and die in wars that old men start, or stuff like that, it does give a little bit of gravity to the otherwise sort of Rambo-esque actions that you are undertaking. The quotations are especially funny. So there's a few different kinds of quotations that they have. Also, here we have discovered a nuclear bomb. A nuclear bomb. There's a few different kinds of quotations that they have in this game. Some of them are like, that George Washington one. Very non-controversial, just kind of words of wisdom of the past, reflecting on the nature of warfare. But then a lot of them are like, they're very of the war on terror. Of course, this game is very much of the American war on terror, the era of, post 9/11 military escapades in the Middle East. And so, you get like George W. Bush and so on. And it's hard to know what to make of those. Or rather, I'm not sure what the developers make of those quotes. Because, well, I don't know, maybe this is too big of a topic to just offhandedly ramble about in an ASMR video. But suffice it to say, I feel as though there might be a conflict within some of the quotes that they present. And I wonder, they just make me wonder. They make me wonder. Let's leave it at that. I don't want to get into a whole thing about it. And so, I wasn't paying attention. It looked as though we're on some sort of seaside here, in the Middle East. I wasn't looking closely. I don't know if this is supposed to be Afghanistan or maybe they're not even picking a specific country. I know they're not because they never say it out loud. But could be like Iran or something. Geographically. Again, I wasn't looking at the map as it was zooming in, and I've never actually stopped to look at where this game takes place geographically from the satellite images shown in the loading screen. So, this sequence, by the way, is kind of intense. We have the credits that play here during this prolonged car ride. So, if you're watching a video about Modern Warfare, you're probably okay watching this, but it's a little intense, a little violent. Just to warn you. But yeah, this sequence you play as, well, play is a strong word. It's basically a cutscene where you have free camera control of your head, but nothing else. You play as President Al-Fulani, I believe, is his name. And you are about to be executed by al-Assad, who is solidifying his regime in whatever, amalgamation of Middle Eastern countries this country is supposed to be. Bracketing that question. I remember as a kid not really fully understanding what was happening here and how this tied in to the rest of the game. And it stuck out in my mind. It's a very impactful sequence, but I didn't fully grok what was was going on, what was being suggested, how it tied into, the cutscenes, the story of Modern Warfare, by the way, I think is pretty good. I haven't played it in, I don't know, 15 years minimum, but my memory is it's a pretty good sort of globe-trotting action movie, high stakes, spec ops, military sort of story. I like how it splits you up between different military forces. Hopping between what is it? Who do you play as this? The Americans? Are you you're not the Rangers, right? I think isn't that Modern Warfare 2? You might be a Marine in this one. I don't recall specifically. But oh yeah, of course we have all of our major antagonists being introduced here. There's Al-Assad walking towards us and Zakayev in the background. And then the dude in the tracksuit in the car. I don't recall his name, but he is somewhat significant as well. But yeah, the concept of oh no, we are south of we are south on the Arabian Peninsula there, so like the Red Sea. So was that maybe Yemen? Is that supposed to be Yemen? Anyway, yeah, so the swapping between different perspectives, different characters, and they have kind of different types of missions depending on who you're going to when you're playing as Soap. It's very super soldier vibes, like you have a squad of like 2 or 3 guys and you're just ripping your way through a countryside. And then when you play as the character in the United States military, it's much more you are part of a war effort. You're, clearing city blocks and rolling with tanks and Humvees and stuff. So it allows you to experience kind of different flavors of the war game, and that's pretty deeply rooted in Call of Duty campaign history. Because of course before this you had all of the World War II and sorry, I'm getting a little distracted listening in my apartment if I'm hearing noises, and I think I am, but hopefully they're not disruptive. Anyway, with the prior Call of Duty games, they had been segmenting the campaign into, multiple stories. So, I don't remember specifically, but in like Call of Duty 2, there's a segment where you are, playing as a British engineer or something, or a radio operator, and you kind of bounce around. You're in like North Africa, also have a campaign segment where you're playing as a Soviet soldier during the Battle of Stalingrad. And so on. You sort of bounce around the fronts of World War II. So, it's pretty within Call of Duty tradition for Modern Warfare to give you insights into different areas, different storylines, different characters. And the most famous American soldier that you play as is Ramirez. To me, he's the most famous. Because I can just hear that commanding officer always shouting at you, Ramirez, take point. Ramirez, get to the Burger Town, and so on. But you do not play as Ramirez in this game. I think. I'm pretty sure. I think he's introduced in Modern Warfare 2. No, 3, isn't it? 3. But, yep, that's the neighbor's washing machine. My apologies. But yeah, not that any of the characters that you play as are particularly fleshed out. Soap does eventually get characterized. In the first Modern Warfare, you play as this guy, Soap McTavish. And he is a faceless, voiceless protagonist. But the other characters are, very fun. Of course, Captain Price is the most iconic of the Modern Warfare games. But I do like Gaz. And you get lots of fun other characters in the trilogy. So the basic gameplay of Modern Warfare 1 is just kind of systematically clearing enemies using cover. Pretty much wherever you go, whatever you're doing in this game, you are going to be crouching behind rocks or barrels or windows and shooting out from over them. Now, I think it holds up. It's very satisfying. The gun feel is really good. The game feels good to play. I was struggling a little bit with, I don't know, maybe controller, like joystick, dead zone stuff, but very minor in the grand scheme of things. And it's pretty cool, 2007. wash over me that this game is almost 20 years old. Although honestly, the crazier thing to me, somehow, is that this remaster is 10 years old because it came out in 2016. So later this year it will be 10 years old. That's the part that really disturbs me. I don't know why that's worse than the original game almost being 20 years old. But it is, for some reason. I guess it's just the fact that, you know, you think a remaster comes so long after an original. And so now for it to be a whole decade between the, that's another death. Oh yeah, there's a Colin Powell quote there. For a remaster to already be 10 years old, it just makes it feel very old. But anyway, I won't linger on my impending feeling of mortality. The age of video games, the age of everything that you loved as a child, will become a creeping memento mori as you age. I think I remember around this part I do a lot of friendly fire here. My teammates kept showing up in like random places. My trigger discipline was not so good. We were honestly moving faster than I expected for playing on veteran, considering how difficult I recalled veteran to be. Now I am playing very cautiously to accommodate for that. Now we get a nice night vision segment here. They do stuff like this, you know, to split up the monotony of the fact that this game is just crouching behind cover and shooting people, right? Considering that's all the game is, they do a great job at adding some variety to keep it from becoming quite so stale. So, occasionally, you know, you get to play with some special toy, use a vehicle, or a unique weapon, you know, do a stealth segment. Older men declare war, but it is the youth that must fight and die. Herbert Hoover. I was about to say Hubert. Sorry. I was about to say Hubert Herver. I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but yeah, and they change up the dynamic with, like, sometimes, you know, you're at a machine gun emplacement just mowing down waves of lemmings, and other times, you know, you're vastly outnumbered. Sometimes you're playing defensively, and sometimes you have to push into a hard point to, you know, capture it. So the context in which you are crouching behind barrels and shooting enemies is changed often enough and significantly enough that it, you know, remains pretty interesting. recovered our informant here, Nikolai. And now we will switch from the SAS to the Americans. Yes, okay, you are a Marine. We are here with the USMC. Wait. Am I crazy, or did we just go in like a totally... Are we not now on the northern side of the Arabian Peninsula? That was like the Strait of Hormuz, right? Again, I mean, I wasn't watching too closely, but pretty sure we are now on the north side of the Arabian Peninsula. But maybe Al-Assad has like conquered all of the Arabian Peninsula, from Iran to Yemen, from the UAE to Lebanon. Maybe Al-Assad has just taken it all, or maybe I just don't know how the map sections all kind of tie together. Because as I've said, I've never actually really looked into like what country or what geographic area this is supposed to represent. I've never really paid attention to those satellite sequences in the loading screens. So, I have played this level before on this channel, because this level, Charlie Don't Surf, was one of the areas in my out of the map glitches video that I played. And a little later in this level, I'm gonna try to use the same spot that we got out of the map on before in that previous video to see if we can get out of the map again that way. And so if you're curious about that, we will see that a little later on. Also, I keep shooting these television screens just out of habit. There was an achievement in the original game, and I assume in this one too, because it's pretty sure all the achievements are the same, I imagine. The achievement was called, I think, Your Show Sucks. In the end, it was luck. We were this close to nuclear war, and luck prevented it. Robert McNamara. Of course, a critical figure during the nuclear fears of the early Cold War. But yeah, anyway, the achievement Your Show Sucks was obtained by smashing all of the televisions which are displaying Al-Assad's speech. So, just out of habit, I break them all when I see them, because I remember as a kid trying very hard to get that achievement. And it took me many playthroughs of the game before I actually did. I can't recall when I first figured out that people were writing guides online for video games. But I seem to recall trying to find all of these televisions by myself. I'm pretty sure I knew about GameFAQs in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. But that might not be quite right. Maybe it was around this time that I learned what GameFAQs was, and learned that people had already figured this stuff out and had written it up all nice and neat for me to read. Save me the effort. Also, sorry, my upstairs neighbors seem to be moving around quite a bit. Of course, I will try to edit as much of it out as I can, but if they happen to be, wrestling while I am talking, I won't be able to get rid of it, so my apologies if it's at all disturbing. Also, I'll just comment on this in a video. I recently made a community post. I have a weird video release schedule right now. I don't know what order any of this stuff is gonna come out in. So this might be way later. I don't know, but at the time of recording, I just recently created a post where I showed a statistic from YouTube which said that 54% of my watch time came from televisions. 54% of the time that people spent watching my videos was on televisions. Okay. That Condoleezza Rice quote was very interesting. Yeah, these quotations are really a snapshot in history. If you know the enemy, know yourself. You need not fear the result of 100 battles. Sun Tzu said that. And I'd say he knows a little bit more about fighting than you do, pal, because he invented it, and then he perfected it, so that no living man could best him in the ring of honor. But yeah, I made this post. 54% of my watch time came from televisions, and I said, this seems impossible for me to believe. And then I got a lot of very interesting comments from people who were saying that they watch ASMR on their televisions. And I thought that was super interesting. There was a lot of stuff that made a lot of sense. Some people were saying their phones are charging too far away from their beds when they go to sleep, and so they have a television in their room, and so they just put the ASMR on their TV. Then they don't need their phone. And I thought that made a lot of sense. I have a whole ramshackle system of cables connecting my phone to power at night, just so that it can get close enough to my bed. So, the idea making it easier by just watching the ASMR on your bedroom TV. Makes a lot of sense. It was interesting as an example too of you just, I feel like you do something and it feels normal to you, and then you kind of just go, oh yeah, this is how I do a thing, so it's probably how everybody does a thing. And then you got into the real world and hear how other people do a thing. And you're like, oh my god, people do this thing really differently from how I do it. And for me, ASMR, it is only ever my phone. Occasionally, I watch on my computer, very rarely. But usually if I'm doing work at the computer, if I'm working, I'm usually more of a music guy. But every once in a blue moon, I'll listen to ASMR while I'm working. But, yeah, I just had a total blind spot that people would be watching on their TVs. 54% still seemed really high to me, but I rationalized it, explained it by saying that people who watch on their TVs are probably more likely to either have like a video on loop so that it plays through the night, or it will play through a playlist or something like that. Because again, the statistic is that 54% of my watch time comes from TV, not not views. And so I would guess that watching ASMR on a TV correlates to higher watch times. But that's just a theory. But that's just a theory. An ASMR theory. So, we are in a little bit of a pickle here, fighting through these streets. This segment is a little difficult. There are infinite enemy spawns in Modern Warfare. And so you can't just kind of camp forever. You have to find a way to break through forward, because spawns will be kind of like proximity triggered. It also depends on the area. Some areas, there's different ways that enemies are handled. Sometimes there are specific amounts. Sometimes there are infinite spawns, and so on. The absolutely no recoil sniping feels so good. There's something it's just so satisfying. I don't know why, but like just using these sniper rifles in Call of Duty that have like no recoil and are semi-automatic like the Dragunov, just very satisfying. It scratches a little itch in my brain. Yeah, the infinite spawns are kind of, they're interesting. I like them because it forces you to, like, you have to be aggressive, whereas at other times, you can just sit back, play very safely, and not get that rush of thrill of having to play aggressive, play a little risky. And so I like how the infinite spawns force you to think about, like, how can I use my grenades or whatever resources I have to help blast my way through. But it can also sometimes feel a little contrived, maybe, or a bit silly, with how long you're just kind of sitting there, mowing people down. But overall, I think it's just shot my buddy there. My trigger discipline, not so good. I was curious if you could use that mounted machine gun on that technical, but nope. Technical suddenly. Sorry, suddenly just made me wonder if Dr. T ASMR has ever pondered guns stuck to the back of trucks in one of his videos. Yes, this is a very technical, you know what I mean? Very technical. If you don't, you know what I'm not even, it doesn't matter. Okay. This area, by the way, is the little segment where you can get out of the map in the original. So, once I make sure that all of the enemies are done here, yeah, okay, I think we're good. So, I sped this footage up because I was just trying to get out of the map for a while, trying to figure out if it was my skill that was causing a problem, or if they had actually put an invisible wall. And I think they did put an invisible wall, but if you come over here, they did put a little Easter egg. This little caution sign, that's normally where you jump to get out of the map. So, kind of funny that they put that there. However, I'm pretty sure they put an invisible wall to block getting out of the map. I'm not positive. I could have just been missing this jump up a bunch. That is very, very possible. If they did put an invisible wall there, I think that's kind of lame, because this is just a remastered game. This is the single-player campaign. There's really no need to fix a glitch like this. So if that was a choice they made to put an invisible wall up, I think that was a little silly. Who knows? I might just be screwing the jump up. So, having given up on trying to accomplish that, let's go finish the mission. Sir, finishing this fight. So, of course, the objective here in this mission is to track down Al-Assad. And the idea is that he is broadcasting his footage from this position. Sorry, yawning. And so we are breaking into this TV station to find where Al-Assad is broadcasting from. And I do recall this part being very difficult in the original game. This was a part where I got stuck for quite a while on Veteran. As you'll see, I do struggle with it a bit here as well. But I suppose age has provided some wisdom that makes these things a bit easier, because this was tricky, but not as hard as I remember. So, the kind of the biggest challenge here is that you're just in this huge room, and there are all of these desks, and so there's so much visual clutter and cover for enemies to be behind that they're visible hits and stuff. I don't know how I missed that guy 2 times in a row. Yeah, and then there's also some other factors, because there's an upper level, you can see the balcony up there. And there are these side rooms as well. Stop yawning. So, after dying 2 times in a row to this guy, I was determined to not fall to him again. And now we have these little side rooms here, which provides us a touch of cover. A spot to peek out from. Oh my god, wait, I remember. Yeah, the real crazy thing about this section too, one of the most distinctive things about it in my memory, is how many grenades there were. And this will occasionally happen in Modern Warfare, from my recollection. There's occasionally spots in the game where it feels like the enemy AI is, for some reason, throwing way more grenades than usual. I don't know what causes it. I don't know if it's even real or just something I've made up in my head. But this is one spot where I just remember it being like a shower of grenades, constant grenades descending down on you. The sky is parted and grenades rained. Every time it rains, particularly crazy here. Oh, okay. And two in a row, right as I said that. But of course, and there's a third. The very tricky thing about grenades on Veteran, of course, is that, the grenades force you to reposition. They will kill you instantly unless you reposition. But on Veteran, even a quick sprint for repositioning can get you killed, so the grenades are very dangerous. Even when they don't kill you, they might force you to make a move that gets you killed. So as you can see, this segment is pretty chaotic. Lots of grenades, I'm getting flashbangs, and I think at this point I'm like, I need to start making a move because the enemies are just not letting up. So it's when you use your flashes, you try to just clear a little opening, a little window to sprint up ahead to the next cover. And fortunately, of course, you can throw back grenades if they are, if you're standing right on top of them. Alright. I think we're in the clear. Oh, there's one last grenade for the road. Yeah, I guess the grenade spam was about as intense as I remembered it. Maybe slightly more dramatic in my memory, but not too far off. Yeah, I think we have cleared out this area. Nope. Maybe not. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. Vasquez says room clear. And I think this pretty much brings us to the end of the mission. As far as I recall, there's not actually any more fighting. I thought I remembered a fight sequence on the rooftops here, but on the roof of the studio, that is. But I'm pretty sure there's actually nothing up there, so I think we're nearly done. And this mission will take us to about an hour of footage, so I think this will be a great place to end our visit to Modern Warfare Remastered. I've been meaning to play the Modern Warfare campaign, just a straight up playthrough sort of thing, not necessarily the whole campaign, but unlike, my maps glitches or whatever, just playing the campaign for fun. And I was planning on doing 2007, but the other day I saw this and I thought, wait a minute, it would be fun to play the campaign of Remastered, as I've never seen it before. Alright, so here we are. We have found our way into the studio. But no Al-Assad. The washing machine upstairs has gone into the spin cycle, I believe, for just like the last 2 minutes of my video. So that's great. That's perfect. But with the washing machine going, let's call a stop. So, thank you so much for joining me, my friends. And until next time, please take care of yourselves, and I will do the same. Goodbye. Goodbye.